It's really good for views if you start with a disgusting drinking sound at the beginning of the video. So let's talk a little about very quickly about the midterm coming up. I didn't change the midterm information here. I mentioned the other day, I don't think I said anything, and I checked, and I didn't say anything about the fact that it's not, the exams are not cumulative, which you don't need to worry about for the midterm, but you'll need to worry about for the final. I didn't change anything because I have listed here what is covered on the different exams. So you can look here if you're looking for a summary. We're going over chapters 3, 4, 5, which includes 2 different weeks we went over it, 5-1 and 5-2. And then chapter 6. And we have 2 different weeks we went over chapter 6 information, just the weighted average portion of chapter 6. So the WA there means. All right, it's worth 200 points. What is available now is here, I'll do student view so you see exactly what you see here. The midterm exam review quiz is available, and we can click on it, and we can take it. And well, that's the online class. Anybody post on the discussion board here in the in-person class? Nobody. Okay, well, it's not required. I'll remove that. The online class has that, though. Not sure I got copied over. So we have the review quiz available, and I should get rid of this because now I have the exam up. It's just not, it's locked, that is. It's locked until, like I said, Friday at midnight, when it turns midnight Friday. If anybody's up in the middle of the night, Friday morning, you are free to take the midterm exam, your first attempt. I'm sure you're all dying to do that. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Let's go modules again. All right, so those two are both up, and you can see where they go. There are some directions and support for using ProctorU. I think I've set it up correctly. Every semester, the extension changes, and I've got to look up new things, and either because they've changed it, or sometimes when it's an infrequent thing like setting up an exam, which you do every 6 months or so, you forget these kinds of things over time. At least I do. So I think this was mostly change in the extension. For a while there, the Firefox extension wasn't supported at all, it seemed, and now it is. So I think under Firefox or Chrome, at least, you're able to access ProctorU here for the exam when that time comes. Let's see. Can't use the Guardian browser. You can run a compatibility check before the exam day, of course. And let's go to ProctorU extension. Let's see. I don't know about Edge, and I don't know about Firefox is the first one that came up, and I don't know about Safari. That's the Mac one, right? Okay, I see. This is the Firefox. I know there's a Google Chrome extension. Anybody used Edge before? Anybody used with ProctorU? Yeah, you think so? Okay, so there might be a specifically look up ProctorU extension for Edge. It was with Firefox. Okay, yeah, Chrome and Firefox are the only supported browsers for using the extension Workflow. Okay. It says Guardian is the measure, but we heard from the Boise State Atlassian informing us that there are some technical errors with the Guardian browser extension. So if you're using that, you cannot use that right now. So these two extensions are the ones you should use. I'll do my best to troubleshoot if you have a problem with it. It may be something it's possible I've set something up wrong. I've gone through everything I know to check down, make sure that it's set up correctly. And alternatively, there also might be an issue between you and ProctorU, and I can potentially direct traffic towards them for you, or send you to the right place with them. maybe reach out, maybe read through this before you shoot me an email, because I'll probably be looking at that first once you shoot me the email. All right, so today the plan is that we still have this 6-2 quiz outstanding for Friday, and we're going to go ahead and work on that a little bit, at least a little, and we will then talk more about the exam review quiz, which actually, let's start the beginning out here with all this housekeeping information, then go into 6-2, and then quiz questions. Okay, so this exam review quiz is 20 questions long, so twice as long as the normal quiz, and hence twice the points. Each question is still worth 2.5 points. It has the same distribution of questions from each test bank that the exam does. I literally copied over the midterm exam review quiz to the midterm exam and changed the number of points per question. So it's pulling the same way from the same test banks. So the midterm exam review quiz should give you the right balance of flavors of Chapter 3 quiz, Chapter 4 quiz, Chapter 5-1, Chapter 5-2, Chapter 6-1, and Chapter 6-2 quizzes. And so you can look through and you can see the 20 questions. Because the midterm exam is also 20 questions, 10 points each for each question. There's a trade-off, I have to make. I could make it smaller in terms of points per question, but that means more questions. And I figure 20 is plenty given the nature of these questions, some of which take a decent amount of space in Excel to chart out and figure out and do. So that's the balance that we've struck. I think that works out pretty well. There's no real way to nicely and evenly get it to 200, just mathematically here, besides making it worth 10 points a question and 20 questions, or making it worth 8 points a question and 25 questions. So the next step up I would like to do is 25. So then I don't have weird fractions in your grade and people saying, well, what happens with this? And it's just extra overhead for the class. Let's get out of this one and go to 6-2 and do some questions. Let's at least get a sampling. Yeah, Sage. Yes. The review is exactly like the homework in every way, except the length of the quiz. Yeah, no problem. I think I'm fair to say that. It pulls from the same test banks. It covers more chapters. Sure, it's collectively like every quiz and longer. And yes, unlimited attempts, and the highest one counts. And okay, keep stopping myself from doing what I was trying to do. So let's go through some questions here. In fact, let's go to the harder ones. Let's see if we can get some comprehensive, one or two comprehensive at least. Drag us through all three steps, and that'll give us a decent exposure to all the things that we could see on 6-2. One at least that has us do ending WIP, and one at least that has us do the cost of units completed. So I think this is a decent one, and it's also a dumpling problem. So that is the one that over semesters I've gotten emails about the most. Somehow it's the most confusing. I think it's just the nature of it. That's fine. When I give you a % complete for direct materials, that's pretty straightforward. And when the problem says all direct materials are added at the beginning, so you just say, 100%, 100%, easy. That seems to be straightforward. It's when there's this weird, there's this dumpling situation where direct materials are added somewhere in the middle of the process, and we have to decide whether direct materials are 0% or 100%, depending on whether it's crossed that critical threshold in terms of conversion cost % complete. That tends to be a pretty common place for people to have questions and email me or ask me after class or whatever. So let's look at this question right here, and we will pull over this set of sheets right here. This worksheet right here. Okay, so we're in the 6-2. I'm on the 6-2 tab. For later, if you look at this worksheet, it has 2 tabs based on what we're doing. Question number 7. We're going to have a DM and a CC units completed amount, WIP units. We have 11 units in beginning work in process, 579 that were started, and 16 units in ending work in process. Meaning, for physical units, we must have had, I put a multiplication instead of subtraction. We must have had 574 units completed. I'll go ahead and label that. 0.58 for this 58% for the beginning WIP units, and 0.42 for conversion cost completion for the ending WIP units. Now, the beginning WIP units are past the 50% threshold. So what's the direct material percent complete? 100%. Excellent. Thank you. The ending WIP units are not past the threshold with respect to conversion costs. So what's the direct materials percent complete for them? 0%. Excellent. All right. Now, if you've been through this a few times, you might notice that that means that our TEU for direct materials is just going to be equal to units completed, because it's units completed plus ending WIP equivalent units, but that's going to be 0, because that 16 times 0 equals 0. So it ends up being the same. And if that's a good shortcut for you, more power to you. I'm going to calculate TEU with respect to conversion costs here. I don't need to. I don't need to. It's just asking for direct material costs, I guess. So let's make that gray. Didn't have to do it. Oops. All right. So we're looking, this is the TEU for direct materials. That's going to be our denominator. Our numerator includes what categories of costs here? Perfect. Thank you. Yeah. And we're talking about direct materials, so we're talking about the beginning with direct materials and current period direct materials, right? It's pretty comfortable at this point. At least when we say it out loud and we're seeing it here in class, it's pretty comfortable. Maybe not in the deep, dark recesses of the evening when you're working on the test and you're just about to throw your computer against the wall. I get that. But for now, yeah, we got this pretty good. 314 is our beginning WIP direct materials cost. We have 7393 is our current period direct materials cost. And we can sum those for our numerator. No, it's going to do the wrong one. Just want those two. That's our numerator. This is total cost. And so we can do the division now. Numerator divided by our denominator, which is to use the denominator. That is our DM rate. Okay. So I stopped. We would do something different if we were doing conversion costs. We would take these conversion costs, the numerator, over that denominator, and get a CC rate, conversion cost rate. All right, now we have the direct materials rate. It's asking for direct materials cost of units completed and transferred out this month, which is this 574 units. By happenstance, it is also TEU. But I see sometimes, over the years, it's not just this semester, it's not just a particular student or other, people get tempted to use this number, and it usually doesn't work. It happens to work this time because direct materials is 0% complete in ending WIP. But they grab this number, they're like, oh, I know I need to use TEU for things. No, you already used it. TEU is essential for the rate. Once you got the rate, just throw it to the side. Just drop it like Taylor Swift's ex-boyfriends or something. Just it's gone. You can write a song about it if you want, but it's dead to you. The rate is here. We have what we needed from TEU. Now I need to apply that TEU rate, which is DM cost by equivalent units, by the equivalent units of the category of cost I'm asking for. In this case, it's units completed, which, that's nice and easy. The equivalent units are the same as the physical units because they're completed, 100% complete. So I can just take this and multiply it by units completed right here. This cell, not this one. I know they're the same number. Usually they are not. That should be our DM cost for units completed and transferred out. I'll even write the whole thing. Okay, good. Questions on this one? Yeah, sorry.
Just so I can remember and see again, can you just show a little example 0%.
Like up here when it's different.
Yeah.
Sure. Let's change some facts here. Let's say we're at 51%, just so there's no doubt, which means that we've crossed the threshold. The ending WIP units at the end of the period were just complete enough with respect to conversion cost that we considered all direct materials to have been added. And so I phrase it that way too, because this rule here doesn't literally mean, literally every direct material gets added. We make the company's making some assumption. It's modeling its process and just says, well, about here is when it gets added. So in the books, we're going to put it in or not based on that. All right. So I drifted away there, probably for the worse, actually. So I can put 100% is the point. We're past the threshold. So now direct materials have all been added. They're 100% complete. And now, well, because I hard coded in the full equation, it already automatically updated. It's this 574 plus the ending WIP, which times 100% is just at 16. And it ends up being 590 now. Now I would copy over the same as in the problem here, the beginning and current period WIP, use that same numerator, and I get a different rate. So the rate went down because the TEU got larger. So the rate is 13.42, rounds to 13.43, excuse me. Here, in the actual problem, in our hypothetical problem here, it's 13.06, so a few cents less. And then the amount of cost that's going to direct materials, the amount of direct materials cost that's going to units completed transferred out is only 7498 instead of 7707. Is that okay? Yeah, let me label this too. This is our hypothetical. What if DM were 100%? Yeah, so I mean, when direct materials are 0% at the end of the period, it gets nice and easy. Notice that there was nothing hanging on despite this enormous rate with lots and lots of decimal points. The reason is this 7707 is the entirety of the cost. We basically are saying that because these ending WIP units are not at the point where we consider them to have all their direct materials costs, they have none of the direct materials costs, which means all direct materials costs for the period get pushed to those units completed. So all of our costs are assumed to go to those units completed and transferred out. If you wanted to, if you got it down enough that you want to make a rule in your head that says, oh, well, when ending WIP is 0% in weighted average method here, then all the costs are going to go to units completed. That is the mechanic of it. That is how it works. This method will get you there every time, for sure. But you can shortcut if you want. Yeah, Jack.
So the TEU equation, when you're doing it, it's like kind of like two parts, right? It's the units completed plus the EWIP.
Mm-hmm.
So isn't like the only difference between doing the direct material cost for units completed and then doing it for EWIP? All you're doing is just which side of that equation you're multiplying the rate by?
Yep, exactly.
Because like I know for like when you do this exact problem, but for the EWIP part, you are considering the percentage complete.
Yeah,
You're multiplying it, but when you do it for units completed, they're already completed, so 100%.
Yeah, you end up multiplying the rate by this portion of the TEU equation when you're applying the cost to ending WIP. Yep, exactly. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, no problem.
You could just set up like one universal kind of template, and then no matter what your numbers are, it will give you all the results you need, right?
Yeah, and this is why when we're having this, we go back to the very beginning of process costing. We wanted it to be nice and easy to deal with overhead because we don't want to track it. There's no point in tracking it for every little marble that comes across the conveyor belt. And so a company that uses process costing is set up to be automated. You make a few observations, you count up ending WIP, you count up pass-through, what's passed through this particular department, and estimate a percent completion, and the rest just falls into place. So you don't have to do a lot of tracking of your costs because it's not, and you would choose it because it's not worthwhile to track your costs. You don't get decision-making benefit from it. And so, yeah. Oh, there's a typo. All right. I'm gonna I didn't see a comprehensive that asks about ending WIP, open answer style. So let's make sure we got the points for this question and grab a new set of questions. And do this one right here. This one's direct material cost. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, let's do this question here. This is question 8. I usually don't use the numbers. This is the direct material in ending WIP question. Comprehensive question. All right, now, should I copy things over? Or you want to see me build it again? So far, if you're the first one to vote, you get 100% of the vote. You get to decide for everybody. Build it up again. All right, thank you. All right, let's build it up again real quick. We can do it quickly, I'm saying. All right, we copy over the physical units here. 211 beginning WIP units. 9772 started. 220 and ending WIP. Just copied over these first 3 bullet points. And I can copy over now or in a second. Copy over now the percent complete with respect to conversion costs and figure out units completed. Add those two together, subtract away ending WIP. We end up with this number of units completed. Okay, now there's a sentence in here that tells us all direct materials are added at the beginning of the month. Excuse me, the process. And that means that these percentages here are what? 100%. Excellent. Direct materials are 100% complete. This is a paper airplane process. All direct materials are added at the very beginning of the process. At least we assume that in this company. Great. And so we need a direct material TEU now. And because we have this, it's not 0 over here like above, we're going to have a TEU that differs from just units completed. Before we could just say, oh, it was the same as units completed. Now we don't. We have TEU equation is units completed plus ending WIP physical units times the percent complete of those units, which is 9983. Okay? That's going to be our denominator. And let's copy over beginning WIP direct materials cost, current period direct materials cost, sum them, and do our division here, numerator over our denominator. This should be our DM rate. All right, now, like you said a second ago, Jack, what we're going to do is we need to take this and multiply it by the equivalent units in ending WIP, which is the physical units times their percent complete. So D53 times B53 is the same that we saw up here, which is the equivalent units in ending WIP. Those two cells right there multiplied together, the product of those two is what we're eventually going to multiply the rate by. So that should be our DM cost in ending WIP. Unless I copied something over wrong, that should be the answer there. Yeah. Right here? Okay. Very good. Okay, we've done 2 DM questions, so let's just, for fun, look real quick at conversion costs, which I think we can do pretty quickly. This is now our TEU for conversion costs. I just took units completed times the ending WIP times their percent complete with respect to conversion costs. Okay, and then I'm going to copy over the conversion cost numbers. 1062, 11093. Sum those. And do our division. Cost over TEU. Now we have our CC rate, and I can multiply that CC rate by the ending WIP equivalent units. So again, take the physical units times their percent complete with respect to, in this case, conversion costs. And we end up with that amount of conversion costs ending WIP, and we can sum those two to get our total cost of ending WIP, which will go onto the balance sheet. All right, this was the question that it was asking. Highlight it just to be sure. All right, what kind of 6-2 questions do we have we want to look at, if any? Yeah, Jesse.
Can you go like a semi-comprehensive one where it asks for total cost of ending WIP?
Yeah. I can look for one. So here's one. It's not semi-comprehensive is the right description for this because it gives us rates already. Is that okay? All right. Okay, I'll even use that. Semi-comprehensive, if I can spell it without an equal sign. Total ending WIP. Yeah, whatever. We're going to own that. All right, so here we have rates already. 100 is our DM rate, and 400 is our CC rate. And we need, that is dollars over equivalent units. So if we're going to dollars over equivalent units, we want to get that into just dollars. We need to multiply by the equivalent units. So if we want dollars in ending WIP, we must multiply by the ending WIP equivalent units. That's what will happen. That's the algebra we're doing here. So when you take this DM rate and multiply, let's go ahead and get some cells in here that talk about ending WIP equivalent units. So this is ending WIP physical units from the problem. Just copied it right here. This must have been a different year I wrote this because the 29th is the end of the year this year, the end of the month this year. And they are 100% complete because it says so right here. So the ending WIP equivalent units are nice and easy with respect to direct materials. Excuse me, DM. We have the same physical units for conversion costs, but it looks like they're 50% complete with respect to conversion costs. 0.5, conversion cost percent complete. The same multiplication. This is our ending WIP equivalent units with respect to conversion costs. And now we can multiply DM rate by DM EWIP equivalent units. Gives us DM dollars in ending WIP. Just as promised right here. And we can multiply our conversion cost rate by our conversion cost EWIP equivalent units to get conversion cost dollars in ending work in process and sum those. I think it got it. Good. That should be our total ending work in process cost. Total cost of ending work of units in ending work in process. Total cost of units in ending work in process, which is exactly what it's asking for right here. Is that one of the answer choices? Oh, good. It is. Does that work okay? All right. What else we want to see? Here.
In one of the comprehensive questions, it says units are 50% complete.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's look at that. So something like this.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see, is there another one that looks like that too? All right, let's tackle this one. We can do it pretty quickly. Comprehensive dumpling problem. Let's have some overlap with what we did, the very first problem we did. That's all right. This is useful. All right, so we have 23, 547, and 23. These are our just those first three bullet points. Grabbing the physical units. We can get units completed by adding the first two and subtracting the third. Oh, it looks like happens to be units completed the same as units started because beginning and ending whip are the same. Makes sense. Move that over a little bit. Let's look at the percents complete. All right, 56% complete with respect to conversion costs for the beginning whip 23 units, and 30% complete with respect to conversion costs for the ending whip unit. So it's 23 units in ending whip. Now this rule here, this decision rule here says if they're 50% complete or more with respect to conversion costs, then direct materials have all been added. So 100% here for the beginning whip, because it's at 56%, that's over 50%. But the ending whip is only at 30%, which is not quite past the threshold, so that's going to be 0% complete right there. So we have a TEU, whoa, with respect to direct materials. Units completed plus ending whip units times 0% complete, which is that ends up being 0. Those two multiply together. For conversion costs, we got units completed times plus the ending whip equivalent units, which is 23 times its 30% complete. So that gives us 553.9 instead, because we have 6.9 equivalent units in ending work in process. All right, now we can go ahead. Those are our denominators for direct materials and conversion costs. We have 374, 6194. I'm going to go ahead and separate them out by the two categories here. This is our direct materials costs. And we have 386, 6989. Yeah. Good. Okay, let's go ahead and make some rates. We've got direct materials. Numerator is going to be our total cost. Our denominators are TEU with respect to that type of cost. Looks like rounds to $12.01. And we take conversion cost total conversion costs over TEU with respect to conversion costs to get our conversion cost rate. And we can go ahead and multiply these by units completed now, because it's asking for total cost. So we're gonna need to sum them in the end. We either sum them in the end or sum them now. We can sum the rates just for units completed. We can sum those rates and multiply that summed rate by 547. I've chosen to do it separately here. I can take these two separately. And sum them down here. So that should be our total cost of units completed. And the alternative here is to sum the rates and then just multiply that one rate by units completed, and you get the same number. All right. Does that look okay? All right. Oh, that's it. Help. Just made more noise. We excited to get into a midterm exam review quiz? Excited is the wrong word, Professor. Okay. I get it. I was young once. Had things that were important. Say that in past tense. Sheesh, man. Welcome to your daily dose of nihilism. Let's see. Let's put this answer in here. We have any other? We just those two? We did that one too. All right. So we should have 7 unanswered, which means we should have 2.5 times 3 or 7.5. Right. Good. We got them right. All right. So let's have some blasts from the past here. We got a 20-question quiz. The midterm exam review quiz, so it's a little longer. The one thing that the exam review quiz is not going to prepare you in terms of not going to prepare you for the midterm is you're allowed to stop this and come back to it, which is great. I'm happy that that's available to you. The midterm exam has to be done all in one piece. So if you want to recreate conditions, that's the one thing you could add manually to the midterm exam review quiz to just recreate midterm exam conditions perfectly. As perfectly as you can. Pretty close, I think. Let's grab it. Let's see what happens. Oh, man. Who even knows what margin of safety is? That's... I got some chapter 3 stuff here. Now we're jumping into chapter 4, overhead costs using job order costing. Got a few questions there. Oh, we need to do some 5-1 stuff related to first stage allocation in ABC. Some activity rates in ABC. Oh, no, overhead costs in ABC. Oh, we got an ABM problem from 5-1. Activity-based management, that's what it stands for. Oh, we got our weird regions as activities question. That was fun. Here we've got, a TD-ABC question that takes about 5 pages to read. Another one. We got all TD-ABC? No approximated ABC this draw. Wow, okay. So again, there's some random element of what you get. That's a degree to which that's the case. We have weighted average. Here's our TEU question, and here's another TEU question from 6-1. Now we have some 6-2 questions, total cost of ending work in process. And oof, we reached the end. Okay. So let's not focus on the chapter 6 stuff as much. Let's see if we can get through one question at least from 3, 4, 5, 1, and 5, 2. All right? And if we get through that and we've survived, and it's not time yet, I think our brains will burst if we do more than that. All right? That sounds like a plan. Okay. Yeah, sure. Well, let's just take number 1 here. Let's see if I can get this one right instead of making a mistake embarrassingly in front of the class, like I did with the last margin of safety problem I did live. So a firm sells a product for a price per unit, or for per unit price of $50. Great. Let's go over here, midterm review. This is our chapter 3 question. Chapter 3 quiz. Question. Margin of safety. So we have $50 is our price per unit. Variable cost of $26, which means we can subtract these and get, remember the term? Contribution margin, specifically unit contribution margin. Great. Excellent. $12,000 is our fixed costs. Now, what I want to do now is very carefully label, make sure I don't make the same mistake as before, our break even. Before I talk about the next part of the fact pattern right here, our break even point is taking our fixed costs and dividing it by our unit contribution margin. That's our break even in units. So we should sell 500 units to break even. 500 units times that price means that's our revenue, our break even in revenue. Okay, it's not too crazy, right? We're okay? That's all right. 90,000 is our current revenue, or the hypothetical, if total revenue is 90,000. Then our margin of safety is going to be the difference between these two. What our revenue is, either hypothetical, budgeted, or actual revenue, how far north of break even is that? Since I've given you this revenue number in dollars, I had to do this earlier. I was looking ahead when I did this. If I took, so that should be our margin of safety. Is that okay? It's coming back a little bit, right? All right. I don't think the chapter 3 questions are the ones that are going to give you trouble, generally speaking. Maybe a few are a little further out there. But you want to try another chapter 3? Or did my threat of brains bursting make you think you don't want to do more than one per chapter? Because there's one right here that's a little trickier. But I have a secret weapon, which is copy and paste. So this is our multi-prod CVP question. All right, so we have a sales mix of product A, B, and C right here. So we sell multiple products, three product lines. At the end, we need to figure out break-even point for product A. So we're going to have to convert these into a composite unit, figure out the contribution margin per composite unit, divide the fixed cost by that contribution margin, and then now we know the units of the composite units at break-even, and then convert that into units of product A. So step by step, let's figure out unit CM for just each product first. That's the easiest thing to do, and it's a good place to start. Unit CM. And we're going to build a composite unit, which is a bundle. Yes, Sawyer.
Sorry, you literally probably just said this, but what does CVP stand for?
Cost volume profit.
Oh, yeah.
It's let's name it appropriately here. That is that's me. Yeah. Yes. That's exactly the wording that I used. Exam. So you can use a calculator, a physical one. You can use a blank Excel spreadsheet. I encourage you to use Excel. You probably use Excel up till now. And you have one page, front and back, the just normal printer paper, well, 8.5 by 11. I guess if you want aligned one, that's fine. It can be handwritten or typed. It's up to you. Yeah, you get notes. So prepare accordingly. Between attempt 1 and attempt 2, that might be one place if you don't have a lot of notes. Maybe, let's take notes specifically on those things that I'm weakest on, and I can improve attempt 2 by improving my notes. Maybe that's one way to change things. Good question, yeah. All right. Okay, we have the unit CM for each of these, and we're going to create a composite, which is a bundle of these. So people come in, they're going to buy a bundle. We're going to assume they buy a bundle of 2 product A's, 1 product B, and 5 product C's. I'll let you guess which one of these is the Stanley Cup. No, I don't want to read. And so now we can say that the sum of these 3 is our composite unit CM. So per bundle or composite unit, we should earn $178 of contribution. That bundling incorporates the sales mix by the ratio in which they're in the bundle. Great. We can now take our 1.5 million fixed costs and divide that by a unit CM. In this case, a composite unit CM. So this is, let's not make that dollars. No, that didn't help, made it worse. So this should be composite units at break even. Now, don't be tempted to type this one in. That's the wrong number. That's our composite units. That's how many bundles we would sell to break even and earn those $1.5 million of fixed costs to stay in business. Instead, we need to take those composite units and convert them into how many product A's there are. Well, there are 2 product A's per bundle, so there should be 8,426.97 times 2 product A's at break even. That's what the B/U stands for. And it says round up to the nearest whole unit, and I'm not consistent on that. Some questions say to do that, others don't. Some textbooks are really technically true in their insistence that you would round up, because if you have to sell whole units, so you have to, if you're going to break even, you have to go up. The latitude, the range in which it accepts it whether you're precise about rounding up or not. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. So with product A, if the 8,426 is the composite units, like I just remember with these ones you have to like multiply it by 2 out of like OW8. So that doesn't apply on this one. It's like you
multiply it by that one.
2.
Yes. So though what you're describing is a different kind of composite unit you would build. So I've tended towards whole units in the composite units. So I have a bundle of 2 product A's, 1 product B, 5 product C's. You could instead, and it works just the same, gets the same end product. Take a what I call a fractional composite unit, more like a Frankenstein. So it's 2 eighths. So there are a total of 8 units here that we're talking about, 2 plus 1 plus 5. 2 eighths, which is 25%. Product A. Now I need to make that. There we go. 1/8 product B, 5/8 product C, and then you could multiply by that and do the same rest of the problem. So I'm just doing the same thing as before. What? All right, sorry. And this is our composite units at break even. Why did I do it that way? When we're talking about Frankenstein units, which are, so I don't have a bundle, a basket, which has 2 product A's, 1 product B, 5 product C's. I have one product that 2/8 of it are product A, 1/8 of it is product C, and 5/8 of it is product C. Product B, sorry, 1/8 is product B, 5 is product C. So it's like a little Frankenstein that has little percentages of it of different products, which the ratios are the same. And I can then take that and multiply it out, and I get the same exact number right there. So this last step is what you described just a second ago, is I would take the composite units, multiply it by 2/8. That's what I thought I heard anyway, yeah.
Yeah. I think
Okay.
I know this is me. It's not. I think I'm just confused how like you have the composite unit up there,
Mm-hmm.
so it's not a bundle you said, but it's like, isn't it still kind of a total of all of the units combined? Like the.
You're right here? Right here?
Sorry, back to your, like,
Oh, right here?
Yeah.
So this is a bundle. This is saying a bundle. Well, this is the composite. This is the unit contribution margin when we have a big bundle full of 8 units. So we 8 full products. 2 of them are product A, 1 is product B, 5 are product C. Here we have 1 product. We've like cut it up. So it's got like the head of a Barbie, the arms of a Ken doll, and the body of a T-Rex, because we're Mattel, and those are our 3 products, for example, let's just say. And so it's got, fractions of it, but it's 1 product. Now it's in the same ratios as my basket. So the ratio is the same, 2 to 1 to 5. It's just we divided each number by 8 here. And so we get a different number because we have much smaller composite units. And we get a much bigger number here for how many of those smaller composite units we have to sell at break even. But then they're going to convert back using this smaller number here to 8s instead of 2, just 2. And they convert to the same number in the end. You can use, for 90% of the Chapter 3 questions that do this, that have multi-products, you can do either way. I think I've only really talked and gone through questions this way, but you can use this way just fine, and you get the same answer. There's one style of question that you can't use. So the pedagogical theory I have is trying to get you points for as much as you know, and some people know how to get it to composite units at break even here, but they forget this last step. And I want to give them some points for that amount of knowledge that they have. And so I have to nail you down to a particular way of doing composite units for those questions only. And so I will say, have one like this. Well, if it asks for, the firm has it at how many composite units are at break even, I would say something along the lines of, you have to use whole units to build the composite units. Something like that phrase in there to say, I want this number, not this number. Is that good? Okay. Didn't add extra confusion going through that?
Yeah.
Good. Sometimes there are multiple ways to look at these problems, and I debate how much I say, well, these 2 different ways will work. If somebody's just barely clicking on the one, sometimes it throws them off. So I hope that didn't confuse anybody. There's a moment like that coming up in FIFO process costing, and I may or may not go over the 2 different ways. I might just explain it the one way. Okay, so this is our answer. Let's copy it, paste it over, and we can even do what the instructions say and round up. It would round up either way. All right, let's move on to Chapter 4 question. All right, this one's overhead cost. This one's something about closing out to cost of goods sold. Oh, we got just those 2? Well, I told you they're representative of the midterm exam. So I guess you know now that there are 2 Chapter 4 questions on the midterm. It's 1/10 of the midterm. And you can go through and say, well, what chapter is this from? What quiz is this from? And that will tell you exactly, like, I'm fine giving that information out, telling you this is the composition of how to allocate your efforts. So of these 2, what do you want to go over? The overhead cost or the closing out to COGS? We can just do one. Closing out to COGS. All right, thank you. All right, so this firm uses job order costing. We have actual overhead and applied overhead, budgeted overhead, cost of goods sold, balance before closing. Now, if the firm closes overhead control to cost of goods sold, what will cost of goods sold balance be after closing out the overhead control account? All right. So the way the overhead control account works, if we've forgotten, it has actual cost, actual overhead on this side and applied or allocated overhead on this side. It's a nice little T account. You can imagine those merged and a border underneath them and a line right there and then a line at the bottom. And you end up with either an excess of actual overhead or an excess of applied overhead. And you have to close that out because overhead control is an expense account. It's a special kind of expense account. Hence, it's a temporary account, gets closed out at the end of the period. This case is going to get closed out to cost of goods sold. So our actual overhead was $136,935. The overhead we applied using our PDOH rate, which was determined using the budgeted overhead. We remember we had budgeted overhead over budgeted cost driver. We got a PDOH rate, and then each time units actually consumed the cost driver, we billed them based on that PDOH rate, and we billed a total of $120,155 worth of overhead using that method. So we have an excess right here, $16,780, a debit, which means we have extra actual overhead costs that we did not apply to our inventory. We didn't apply it. That cost us to go somewhere, and our company has the policy, apparently, to close it all out to COGS. So the cost of goods sold account has debit and credit side like usual, and it already has, it's an expense account, so it goes up with the debit. So its balance is 406,213, and we need to move this over there. So to do that, we're going to have to debit cost of goods sold and credit overhead control by this amount right here. No, let's just do that. So if we credit overhead control, $16,780, we would have $16,780 here, and this would now be 0. That closes it out. Great. We're going to add, we're debiting $16,780 to cost of goods sold. So now the cost of goods sold balance is that number right there.
And then if the applied was bigger than the actual, can we just subtract it instead of add it?
Yep. If this were over here somehow, let's say these numbers were flipped, and then we had 16,780 over here on the credit side, we would be crediting overhead control, crediting cost of goods sold, which means we'd have it over here on this side, and then it would be subtracting away. Yes. Okay with chapter 4 questions? We have some time next week to go over things too. All right. 5-1. Let's see. This is a nice, easy second stage allocation question. And maybe we want nice and easy right now. There's a first stage allocation question. What do you want, first or second? First stage allocation. All right, perfect. So this is our first stage allocation question. We have $1 million in so I'm going to grab these right here. So, well, first of all, question stem says which of the following is true. Each of the answer choices talks about the activity cost pools balances. So I'm going to have to do first stage allocation to calculate the activity cost pool balances. We have the following overhead costs. These are like in the general ledger or budgeted into the general ledger. I'm just going to copy them over. And we have this table right here. Can even move that over. Great. And I can take this, make the column an absolute reference, and multiply it by that percent and drag that over. So now that $1 million is being distributed across these percents. So it eventually we get costs down these columns, just to remind you what we do. So I did it with all 4. Just copy the table over, basically, but now with dollar amounts. And we can sum these columns right here. And these are our activity cost pool balances, which is what all of these answer choices are asking about. All right, so the budgeted overhead cost that would generally be allocated to services is, well, this is my sneaky way of asking, what is the sum of all the costs that are not the other category? Because the other account is going to be our period costs. They do not get allocated to services. They're going to be expensed in the period they are, based on as a sort of general or operating expense. So I see the sum here. I mean, I could create a cell that sums it, but I see the sum here is 2.805 million, and that is not the same as that number right there. So that is false. Do not select that one. No, it's not. It's not. I didn't intend it to mean that. No. Services here is just our. Yeah, we're a service firm instead of a manufacturing firm. That was what I intended with the word services there. We perform these services. We have this activity within our subcategory. This is our subcategory of services that we offer. Either way, this would be false because that's not that number either, which is fine. All right, the budgeted travel and security activity cost pool is 2.5 million. Let's see, travel and security. Nope, it's 1.4295 million. Budgeted planning activity cost pool is indeed 445,000. Just to be sure, dignitary services activity cost pool is 6675. Nope, that's wrong. So that's also false. So this is the only true one there. Great. 5-1. Let's do a 5-2 question. One of these TD-ABC ones that we saw. Oh, that's so fun. All right. I want to do this one. All right, we have 100,000, 150,000, our two GL expense categories, our two overhead expense categories. GL meaning general ledger. And we can, the same first stage allocation. So I'm doing the same things as I just did a second ago. I'm going to be a little more expeditious about it. Planning uses batches. And then we have 1,000 batches budgeted. We have 500 machine hours budgeted, which is the forming activity. So we can create some activity rates for standard activity-based costing. These are our activity rates. Great. And for activity-based costing, that's where we stop. Great. Well, we already know the answer choice. Wow. Don't stop yourself when you're doing well. So the question is asking, what's the firm activity rate for the forming activity using normal ABC and TD-ABC? And, looked at the wrong one. But yeah, forming activity is 175. It's that activity cost pool we calculated divided by the budgeted driver, 175 per machine hour. There's a typo. Because it's asking for the forming activity, which is the second one, and it uses machine hour. So I have a typo in the question here, and the answer choice is really per machine hour, it should say. But 175 is the number for normal ABC. And that's great and all. Let's look at TD-ABC. These are our overhead costs. So make sure there's not another problem with this kind of question. We have our critical capacity that we're talking about. This is planar hours, practical capacity. So our CCR, our capacity cost rate, is 18.75. Forming uses 5.5 planar hours. If we multiply those, we get 103.125. And this problem has multiple problems. Oh my. I bet this was a slip of the old Excel, and I included the other category in this problem. And why wouldn't I? Yeah, it's a period cost. It shouldn't be an overhead cost. So let me look at those problems, this problem, and then make sure that didn't creep into other problems that I created for this, because a lot of these TD-ABC problems are brand new this semester. If I made a mistake once and copied it over to other problems, it could have some ramifications there. All right, TD-ABC problem fix. I'll work on that. But I'm pretty sure this is the one. This will be the right answer. So let's check our answers here. Besides the possibility that the certainty that I labeled this wrong, and the possibility that I typed this wrong, or had the wrong number for TD-ABC, how are we feeling about that general process? I saw some nods, I saw some not sure's. Okay, all right. Well, let's just check our answers, make sure we got things right here. All right, we have 15 unanswered out of 20, so we have 5 questions we answered. We should have 15 points. Oh, sorry. Thought it was attacking me. All right.
Will the test show us if we get the correct answer?
Yeah. The test banks are robust enough. I let it give you that feedback to improve between attempts. Yeah. All right. Well, that's it. Thanks. I want you to be here next week, Monday, Wednesday. That's still attendance being taken. We'll try and go over the same sort of thing. Yes, sorry, just Wednesday, because Monday's a holiday. Yeah. All right. Thank you. I was going to come in here and be all alone.